Welcome to another episode of Get Hooked Podcast Season 2.
We are back for a second season. I
Yes.
can't believe they allowed us to do this.
I know. I feel like we need to give ourselves like a drum roll or like some type of special intro, but it is early today. So
It is. It's been a couple of months since we've done this, so we're going to get back into the swing of things. We got a
yeah.
really fun one coming up today, though.
Yeah. Today is all about your health. Episode is Honk for Health. We're here to talk about the health of the industry. We want to talk about tow operator health and safety. We know that tow operators spend a majority of their time out on the road or out in the truck. And we want to make sure that health is becoming a priority, whereas previously it hasn't been prioritized. So we want to talk about that. We have an amazing panel of experts, health professionals on today to just have a conversation about that. We're going to bring some valuable insights on health, nutrition, common hazards on the job, and overall ways to increase your health.
Yeah, this is going to be another exciting one. I mean, they're all exciting to me, I think, but this is going to be a really good one. This is something that doesn't get talked about in the industry enough, I think. Health is wealth, as they say, and we are, as an industry, not the best. We're mostly men, so we men don't like to go to the doctor generally. I know I'm one of them. I don't get checkups as often as I should. You know, we sit in the truck too long. We sleep poorly. We eat poorly. But there are things we can do to make our lives just a little better, and that we can make our bodies just a little bit healthier, so that we can last a little bit longer.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that, that it's a man thing, because I think that overall, both men and women, sometimes we all struggle with that, maintaining the tip top of our health, maintaining the maximum health for ourselves. And I know that if you are just an operator, period, in and out the truck, it's probably hard for you to say, let me go ahead and stop and get a salad or focus on, maintaining healthier habits. So, Dennis, in your opinion, what can we do to increase the health standards in the industry and protect tow operators from health hazards on the job?
You need insurance. Everybody should have insurance. In general, this industry is hard on our bodies. We're jumping in and out of trucks. We're working in the elements. We're carrying heavy stuff. We're pushing, pulling, dragging heavy chains, heavy cables. This industry is not easy on our bodies, and we need to just take care of our bodies better. I, for one, quit smoking about 2 years ago, and I feel amazingly better ever since. I do miss it sometimes, but I know the benefits of not smoking are way better, and we'll get into that as well. There's so many things we can do to just treat ourselves a little bit better.
Yeah, like I want to dig a little bit deeper here. So, you were always in and out of the truck. Like, what was your typical day like? When you were in the truck, would you? I mean, you're on your third to eighth cup of coffee right now, in the office, quote unquote. So I'm wondering what that looks like for you in the truck. But yeah, break that down for me, because I've always wondered, what's Dennis like in the truck?
There's the cup of coffee when you wake up in the morning before you leave the house and out the door. There's another one when you get to the shop in the morning. On your way to your first call, you usually stop at a 7-Eleven, grab something. The constant coffee, or a lot of younger guys in this industry, they prefer energy drinks. They prefer their Red Bulls and their Monsters and whatever else they got. It all basically does the
same. Y'all not awake yet? Okay. But it's all to keep going, yeah?
It's all to keep going. We probably didn't get enough sleep the night before because we may have been out on a late call the night before. Now you got to get up and do a quick turnaround in the morning. Again, it goes back to what I just said. We don't. This business is not easy on our bodies, and we don't help it. And for me, it was always, cup of coffee. Okay, light a cigarette, which is not good either. I mean, there's a lot of negative effects on the body from all that stuff. Keep in mind also, again, you're jumping in and out of trucks. We don't always climb the best way. Sometimes you have to maneuver something an odd way. You have to push things, and chains are heavy. If you start working, if you're working with a heavy duty truck, chains are not light. Your wire rope is not light once you start pulling out 3 or 4 wraps out of that cable. That thing gets really heavy. So again, all this wear and tear in our body, we need to find ways to, same way where we take care of wear and tear on our trucks, we need to do the same with our bodies.
Yeah, definitely.
And the
Figure out
food.
ways to, it's the food and it's also just the everyday routine. One thing I started doing was I started incorporating like a quick 15-minute stretch routine every day to keep my body limber. I started noticing, like, you get older, you start noticing some creaks, some aches, some pains, and you're like, ooh, that's, I'm not bouncing back the way I used to.
Like, oh, that's not
And
the chair. That was my back.
sure. Exactly. Exactly. And you're trying to play it off. But so for me, what I had to start doing, I said, okay, you gotta maybe think about incorporating more of a stretch routine. Maybe do some push-ups on a daily basis. Get those, I'm gonna say 10 push-ups. I feel comfortable saying that because I started with 2. Okay. So now I'm at 10.
Get it?
But incorporating some of these just little changes every day can really make a huge difference in the long run. And I think that's something we're definitely going to get into today. So why don't we go ahead and bring on our guests so we can go ahead and get into it. So yeah, I'm super excited for our guest today. We brought on a nurse practitioner to talk about your overall general health. We have a podiatrist on to talk about some ways to think about what happens when you're sitting for a long time, and how that affects your health. And we also have an insurance expert here to help you understand the different resources you have and the importance of having medical insurance. So we are so excited to talk with him today. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
All right, so we have our roundtable here. Why don't we go around the room and introduce everybody? Let's start with Jeffrey Mast. Jeff, you want to give us a little background? Tell us who you are?
My name's Jeff Mast, and I'm the benefits broker for HONK. So I'm the intermediary managing the medical, dental, vision, life, and disability insurance, and I've been doing this business since 2003, and I'm fairly well versed in the insurance game.
Welcome to the show, Jeff. We also have Ashley Smith. Ashley, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi there. Thanks for having me. My name is Ashley Smith. I am a nurse practitioner in the glorious Las Vegas, Nevada. I've been practicing family health care for about 5 years now. I did a lot of pharmacy employment before that. So just very well versed in medications and generalized health care from the pediatric age all the way up to the geriatric age.
Thank you. Welcome to the show, Ashley. And we also have Dr. John Schwerdt out of New York. Go for it, Doc.
Good morning. My name is Dr. John Schwerdt. I'm a board-certified podiatric surgeon practicing in the Hudson Valley of New York. I currently have spent the last 2.5 years in this area in practice in New Windsor called Cappa Podiatry. I've been in practice for a total of 7 years. I have expertise, particularly in limb salvage, with the manifestations peripherally of diabetes, poor circulation. I also have teaching experience, practice experience, and I guess I'm just happy to be here.
We're happy to have you on.
Welcome. So what we're here to talk about today is we are here to talk about the health and safety standards of towing operators.
A lot of people, especially in this industry, we don't really highlight some of the issues that come up, or we don't really highlight just the fact that health is not a priority as it should be. A lot of tow operators spend a majority of their time in and out of the truck. A lot of times this means that just, health is not prioritized, which can lead to complications now and further down the line. So we want to have a conversation with these professionals today to really get an inside track on what should be done, what could be done, just to highlight what we can do to increase our health, especially now. We went through the COVID crisis. Thank God we're done with that I say thank God we're done with that, but we're clearly still in the middle, but we're done with the first phase of understanding what we need to do to take care of ourselves in a pandemic. So we went through the first year, and now we are starting the second year. And so we know what it looks like to be concerned about our health in an extreme circumstance, but now we're taking it back to the basics. What about nutrition? What about your normal health? What are you putting in your body to optimize your health? So we want to talk about that today.
We're always talking about major issues in the industry. We talked about, insurance issues. We talk about training issues. One thing we've always talked about as well is the lack of drivers. So what can we do to keep the ones that we have healthy and keep them going?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what it is too, is it doesn't seem like there's a lot of guys that really have health insurance benefits out there, which I think contribute to health not being prioritized. Is that really the case?
Well, you're dealing with an industry that does have a lot of owner operators. You have a lot of folks out in this industry that, they are smallest of small businesses. It's usually family run businesses. So insurance isn't always a priority. Jeff, maybe you can touch on this a little bit, but what's your experience dealing with small businesses and being able to provide insurance for one or two employees?
Yeah, it's completely feasible to have a health insurance program if you're a small business operator, and I help startups and small businesses all the time. The issue is that it's discretionary, and they're probably trying to cut costs as best they can. So at bare minimum, though, I think that it would be important to have some form of health insurance, and some of these independent mom and pops maybe just to go out on their own and go to the exchanges is a very affordable way to access care. It's probably going to cost something, but it's these exchanges were set up, and then it links to essentially your earnings, and there's a way to get federal subsidies or potentially state subsidies in order to offset the cost of the premium. And it's one of those things where you sort of kick the can and say, well, prioritize other expenses. But in when you do need to access care, it's generally too late. So it's best to be proactive, pick it up. I saw that President Biden passed another open enrollment for the individual market on the exchanges coming up here middle of February for I think 2 or 3 months. So it's an opportunity to go out there and go to your I know that we're covering the nation. So in California, it'd be covered California. In most of the other states, it would be healthcare.gov. And it's definitely worthwhile to go in there and plug in your earnings information, and they'll check that against the RS records, and then and be able to offer you something where it's could potentially be heavily subsidized.
Yeah, that's some great resources. We'll definitely add those links in as well so everybody can access those. Talking about general, and anybody feel free to jump in with anything you have here, but generally, my experience on the road, as a tow truck operator, health is not always the number one priority. Insurance is not always the number one priority, like Jeff said, because, again, owner operators, small businesses, it's not always the number one priority for these types of businesses to do that. And sometimes we do kick the can down the road a little bit. That being said, being healthy in the truck, being healthy when you're on the road, there are things you can do to prolong your health, make yourself a little bit better. I, for one, quit smoking.
And even to get into that, I know you said you quit smoking. So I know that there's a lot of guys who do smoke in the industry. There's a lot of guys who, their nutrition tends to be like energy drinks and sodas versus water for their nutrition. Some of the things that I found, I was doing a little research and just trying to understand a little bit more about the habits of some of our drivers and operators out there is like, you get a lack of regular sleep. You have an unbalanced sleep routine. And some of these things, I mean, I'm not even in the truck, and I can say that absolutely contributes to my health in a negative way. If I don't get beauty sleep, you already know how I'm feeling. That's probably what's wrong with the Jeep now is I don't get enough beauty sleep, and then I go out there and I try to drive, and then all things bad happen. So, let's talk a little bit about that. Ashley or Dr. John, you guys can hop in there and talk about that a little bit. But how does that affect someone's health when they are lacking some of these things that they need to just really operate on a normal, in a normal, healthy way?
All right, so we could start with smoking. So I'm sure any smoker that has seen television commercials that tell them to stop, it's pretty common knowledge that smoking is associated with heart attacks and with strokes. What they don't tell you, and this is pertinent in my specialty, is that the blockage process that would cause a heart attack in a coronary artery, or the blockage process that would happen in the brain called atherosclerosis, is really a systemic condition, and it affects arteries throughout the body. And with the load that these guys put on their legs, with the heavy lifting in between periods of potentially long periods of being sedentary, what that disease really does is that it takes away your capacity to adapt when an acute event like that strikes. So there are a lot of people, I would say, in this industry, and I have plenty of truck drivers, towing and otherwise in my practice, that have poor circulation in their legs that really doesn't have much in the way of symptoms because the job itself kind of brings an adaptive capacity.
I mean, every doctor, every medical professional and even non-professional, like they'll tell you that sitting is the worst thing for the human body. And as drivers, we sit in a truck for 12, 14, 18, 20 hours a day. And, those, like the doc just said, those things that cause downline problems that will, hurt you in the future. One of the things we want to talk about today is, ways to make better choices. Quitting smoking is one of those better choices you can make. There are other options, there are vapes and there are chews, but
I'll go a little further on that too.
Sure.
That constrictive process in the arteries that I'm talking about is, for the most part, what we call electrically gated, meaning that it induces it electrically through our sympathetic nervous system. And because of that, it is one of the first things that gets better when you quit. So even short periods of quitting. So like I'll have surgical patients that are smokers, and I'll tell them if they can quit for 2 or 3 months while bone is healing, it'll have a positive effect, even if they wind up going back to it, 8, 9 months later. So I just wanted to end all that warning stuff with a piece of good news that it really is. Obviously, you can't reverse these types of blockages, but the actual constrictive effect itself does go away relatively quickly.
Doctor, I have a question for you. So the alternate forms of nicotine, are you still getting the same constriction issues, or do you think that there's a marginal improvement if you find an alternate form of nicotine delivery?
So the nicotinic effect does not change, but cigarettes themselves have, as you may just from public knowledge, and there's plenty of PSAs that say the same thing. It's really about avoiding all the hundreds of other toxic chemicals that are in there, and that are all mostly carcinogens. But with regard to vascular disease, there's really not much of a difference. When you're smoking like that, we have receptors in our nervous system specifically for nicotine, and that really doesn't change no matter how you smoke it. But you do avoid a lot of the other toxic chemicals that are conventionally found in those things, which we already know about.
Yeah, so there's definitely other ways. If you're looking at cutting back on smoking, one way to think about it too is maybe pick up a new habit like meditating. I know that could be foreign for a lot of people, but that might be another alternative than to do as a stress reliever.
There are plenty of times I sat in the truck and just went, I'm gonna murder somebody.
You hit that
depending on the state. But
I was just gonna say, just in regard to the smoking, that plays just a beast, of course, with the podiatry and what he's saying with the sympathetic nervous system and the arteries, but just in the general health world that I'm seeing regularly, even in just the last year, exponentially, because not just the tow truck drivers, but I think all of America has been quite sedentary. And hasn't had the best habits over the last year, but that has really increased what I call the big three at work, which are the big three diagnoses: diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol. Those just exponentially start to shoot up when I have a patient that is a smoker, and not just a smoker, but like I said, the sedentary lifestyle, the lack of exercise, the increase in calories, and usually not the best food for some of our tow guys that are out there driving through the drive-throughs, or just looking for that quick meal. And also the financial burdens that's really hindered a lot of people just being able to pick up their prescriptions, being able to pay their copays at the doctor, being able to make healthy food choices sometimes comes with a higher price tag. So smoking, and like I said, just all of these things combined in our last year, apart from what was going on with COVID, have really played a huge part in, I think, in the physical world, but also there's this huge mental health world that's getting overlooked, I think, right now. I shouldn't say right now. We're getting a little more exposure in the news about what's happening with our kids being out of school and their mental health. But similar to our tow guys that are in the truck for hours at a time with no one to really talk to or reach out to, that can leave you in your own spirits and your own thoughts, and that can be detrimental, obviously, to just your general health. So like Yvonne had mentioned, with just a good sleep pattern, healthy eating and dietary choices, if we're going to sit in the truck, maybe we park the truck and do 20 squats and a couple burpees on the side of the road while we're waiting for the next call. We got to find a way to integrate that just into our daily lifestyle and make it work for us, because we're not getting any better, I don't think, anytime soon with what's going on. We have a lot of growing to do in that world, in the COVID world per se. But we can do some things, I think, as a society, just with our time that we have. We got to be able to find a way to use the time we have and plug our health into that time, and not just use it as a sedentary time to scroll or Netflix, like I think a lot of us have been doing.
I
Oh
absolutely
man.
love that 20 squat. Every one of these guys. You have heavy equipment on your truck. Reach in there, do some jack pull ups or whatever
Grab a
you got in
wrench,
your truck.
yeah.
Right, you all got heavy stuff in your truck. Like we always complain about lifting it up, but maybe turn those into some weights while you're standing outside of your truck. Those are great things too. But Ashley made a great point about it is definitely sometimes more expensive to make healthy choices, but if you prepare yourself for your day ahead of time, I know one of my biggest issues when I was out on the road was like Ashley pointed out, being able to access healthy food options.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It's not as expensive as people make it sound.
Not if
Also.
you prepare for it ahead of
Not if you
time.
Yeah,
prepare for
yeah. And I
Correct,
Yeah.
mean,
correct.
and can you imagine adding like, a surgery bill or like medication to your overhead simply because you opted for the burger one too many times versus the salad, or
Mhm.
yeah, that's something we don't think about, like how on the back end it really does hit your finances, it hits your pocketbook.
I was going to say it's slightly embarrassing to have your large lunchbox, but there's a lot of truth to that when you have a long day ahead. And that future planning to just meal prep yourself through your day. If you are going to be out of the house for 12 to 15 hours, that's going to be 2 or 3 of your meals for the day. You take, it might be 2, maybe 3 hours on one of your days off to really invest and go to the store and buy in bulk and lay out flats of chicken and healthy sausage and veggies and cook it all at one time, package it up into some nice containers. And every day for the rest of the week for work, you're taking a nice, clean, healthy meal. And if you got to stop in 7-Eleven and use the microwave, or you got to stop by the house or grandma's or friends nearby, heat your food up and you have a nice, clean meal. And the gift is you don't even have to think about it. I am a busy mom of 2 children. I can barely find time to read a book or have some quality time to myself. So the fact that I can meal prep and just know that on my lunch break, I just have to walk and put something in a microwave and heat it up and take a fork and eat it. I don't have to choose from a menu. I don't have to drive somewhere. I don't have to feel gross after the meal I just ate because I stopped at the drive-through for something greasy instead of something healthy. So again, if we just can, like you said, just like Dennis and Yvonne have mentioned, just really taking time to give yourself a future plan for your meal for the week can really change your entire week, and not just how you feel, but how your energy is, how you sleep, how your muscles are responding. It's just all around, a good thought process to do if you know you're going to be away from the house for that long.
And you made a good point. You said stop. I mean, you just gave some great like alternative ways to go about your day as far as eating wise, creating better habits. But I noticed a lot of these guys, coffee is a huge thing. Energy drink, soda. You're in the truck, you're thirsty, you hop out, you want that big gulp from 7-Eleven
On my
or
third
you know what I
coffee
mean?
Mhm.
Or like Dennis, he's all jacked up on the coffee today, you know. But I wonder, if those are, on the long run, how that contributes to your overall.
Terrible. Terrible. Oh, well, let me tell you, I'm speaking from experience. I was probably 40 pounds heavier last year. So I did have my own just personal, COVID was going to make or break me coming into that year. I got an elliptical in my house. I got a simple set of some kettlebells and a yoga mat. And I just started doing my own workouts from home. But when I started logging my food, and I plugged that coffee in and that creamer in the morning, I was hitting my carb and sugar counts before I even got to the yogurt, just off of my cup of coffee. So I literally don't drink coffee in the morning anymore. I've converted that over to a tea and honey, or you could do your coffee, but you use an alternative to that sweetener and really try and lay off some of that coffee mate. I know it's delicious, but go ahead and turn that container to the side next time, folks. You guys are pumping that in from the gas station, and look and see what you're putting in that coffee cup. I guarantee you'll be surprised.
So the other thing, I kind of want to circle back to Jeff here as well. These are all things that increase your overall risk. Jeff, how does this affect, like, an unhealthy person? How does that affect their ability to get insurance?
Yeah, great question, Dennis.
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, with the Affordable Care Act that was passed, I mean, we're talking now nearly a decade. You know, it's essentially the individual marketplace's guarantee issue. So your health is not a factor anymore per se to the rates. You know, historically it was subject to underwriting, and you could be declined. And you know, it was called Obamacare, was passed under President Obama's administration. It just, they said across the board it's guarantee issue. At the time, the hope was that, okay, we're going to take on adverse risk because now we're approving everybody. But if we get everybody in, then we have a balance to the ecosystem, because you can't just have, you know, sick, unhealthy people on the plan, or it will just capsize. So then there was a new administration, and there was some tax reform, and it modified, and it was no longer mandated that you must have health insurance. So it caused a little bit of an issue. But now I think we're going to revisit this idea that everybody must have insurance one way or another. So essentially, it's almost like a universal payer system because of the federal subsidy component. But they're going to say you need to have health insurance, and you need to pay a penalty if you don't. So one way or another, you're going to be paying into the system to keep it sort of financially solvent, if that makes sense. But the good thing is that regardless of your health, you will have access to the markets, you will have access to choices, and you will have access to care. I was talking to Yvonne about this a few days ago. The thing that I think about when I'm thinking about what plan to pick, what kind of insurance should I get, what specifically medical, like in my mind, medical insurance is the most important thing. Dental, vision, the other components are nice ancillary things, but the medical is the one that you want to be able to access care when you need it. And that card gives you essentially membership to access care. And you want networks. You want with the tow truck operators, the bigger the network, the easier it is. If you have a breakdown in your car, you can access somebody to tow you and get you out of harm's way. And it's the same thing with medical insurance. It doesn't matter. They have all these metallic tiers: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. It doesn't really matter. Take the most affordable thing you can, if that's what suits your budget. But it'll still give you a network, and then the insurance company is going to be paying. If you need to access care, the insurance company will pay the bulk of the bill, and you can work out installments or whatever. But it's better to have the cheapest, most affordable thing possible than nothing at all. And you know, I've helped people that are paying less than $100. I mean, less than the cost of a cell phone plan to have medical insurance. So
such a great point, Jeff. And just to point out there that I think sometimes people can be in denial as well about their health, especially if they are not actively regularly seeing a physician or just have access to that healthcare insurance to cover that. So just to give you guys just an idea, in 2014, the National Institute of Occupational Health and Safety did a study on truck drivers. And what they found is that 80% of surveyed truck drivers reported, 80%, guys, reported that they had at least one risk factor for chronic disease: hypertension, smoking, or obesity. So if you think about that, 8 out of 10, if we're narrowing it down to, you know, to a tow truck driver, 8 out of 10 have some type of risk factor that could lead to some issue where you would need this type of coverage, and you regularly want to go and check in with the physician and really make sure you're on the path to being healthy. So just keep that in mind.
I'll also chime in that you know, all these plans have a preventative care component. So just by having the insurance, you then have access to preventative care, annual checkups, check your blood panels, check your blood pressure, and you know, things like that. Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, anecdotally, I mean, I've been selling insurance for 17 years, and my health was slowly deteriorating. And I was putting on weight, and I essentially developed some severe sleep apnea that I was kicking the can. I finally, in 2018, went and did a sleep study, and to the point where they said, if you don't use a CPAP, we're not even going to let you drive on the road. Like, we'll yank your license. And it was, it's like a cause and effect. I was ignoring it. I wasn't sleeping well. I didn't realize how poorly I was sleeping until I did the sleep study, got the CPAP, and realized, oh my God, I haven't slept this good in decades. And then I was able to lose weight. I was able to stop drinking because drinking was helping me go to sleep. and get some form of sleep, I thought. And it's just like, so it's just been a total pivot in terms of the way that I've felt and the way I've been able to address my health. And it all started with, having access to care and being proactive in doing the sleep study. And the bulk of it was paid for by my insurance. So I'm happy that I had it.
Yeah, that's a great point about sleep as well. I mean, we are an industry that, works 24/7, 365. Our phones ring, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. There's, sometimes you just wake up, answer the phone, go back to sleep. Sometimes you need to, jump in the truck, go out, do a call, and, it's freezing out, getting out of bed after, 3 hours of sleep, running out in the freezing cold. These are not things that our body is typically designed to do. I'm not the doctor here, maybe, but that's
you're
not
right,
what
Dennis. Keep going.
that's not what our body's designed to do. And
that's not what my body's designed to do. I tell you that right now.
No, that is not what we are meant to do at all. And Jeffrey, that was another great point about the sleep apnea. Thank you for being honest about that. That's something else we treat in our office, and that is huge. We do these DOT physicals for all of our semi truck drivers, and same for our tow drivers. You guys are on the road, and if you have a underlying sleep apnea issue, besides what that's doing for, like Jeffrey mentioned, his sleep, just in general, that can lead to your hypertension, your chronic diseases, your kidney issues, the list is endless. And not only that, but your fear of falling asleep behind the wheel on the job is big with that risk factor as well. So yeah, great point with that, Jeffrey, to bring that up, that if you are a snorer, guys and gals, I highly encourage you to find your primary care provider and get that sleep tested, because I have people that come and bring me Christmas presents every year because I got them a CPAP machine. Like Jeffrey said, it had completely just changed their life, and they accredit that to just being able to sleep better.
Imagine what quality of work and what quality of jobs and how that affects the quality of the job. If your driver is fatigued, if you're an operator and you're fatigued, I can only imagine how sluggish it is to go and then try to winch a car or change a tire or do one of these jobs that, requires a little bit more physical effort.
What really blew me away was in that study, I didn't realize that my oxygenation levels were dropping below 70%.
Yeah.
During that sleep study, and then I didn't realize that the reason that my limbs were numb and I was tossing and turning at night was because I wasn't getting oxygenation, and then I was waking up with migraines, and then that CPAP it's very addictive. Like just 3 hours of that feels like 12 hours of deep, relaxful sleep, and no more migraines, no more restless legs, and it's just a snowball towards health. So. I'm a big fan of it.
Everybody laughs at the guy on the plane that's wearing his machine, but it's only because they don't know that man is really off in Tahiti somewhere, because he's in such a deep sleep on the plane that he loves it so much. That's his carry-on. He doesn't need snacks. He doesn't need an iPad or a laptop. This man is carrying on his CPAP machine. That's how much it means to him.
And that's durable medical equipment, and that you get that as an extra carry-on. So you get 2 carry-ons with that.
You get to carry that on. Yeah, it's an extra bag.
Oh man, that is so great. Well, guys, I think the moral of the story here is it's such a benefit to you in the long run, and not even just in the long run, the short and long term, to take care of your health. Get the regular exercise, come up with ways to incorporate that into your daily schedule. Eat your fruits and vegetables. Make it a point to get your waters in every single day. Skip that soda or that energy drink every now and then. Like, figure out a way to you keep a portable cooler in your truck, and eat less fast food. So definitely got to make a way to make some changes there.
We always talk about, the safety of drivers on the road. That's one of our biggest industry issues. We're always talking about, being safe on the road, being visible, and, preventing unnecessary death out on the road.
Normally it's external, but this time it's internal.
There are a lot of other risk factors outside of, slow down, move over initiatives and risk situations on the highway. There are a lot of other risks that we run into every day, drinking too much, coffee, too much sugar, poor diet, bad sleep. And then there's, we're around diesel and gasoline fumes all day. There's oil everywhere. There's grease everywhere. You're out in the elements. There are so many risks to this job that on top of the fact that you can get out of your truck and get killed by a passerby, you need
in the middle of a pandemic.
Right. You need to take some steps to make sure that there are risks that you can control and there are risks that you can't.
Absolutely. So, and the great thing about right now is that there's so many resources out there that are free and available to anyone to access. There's free fitness, YouTube videos and apps. There's new meditation apps out there for people who want to get started and learn how to do that. There's even new nutrition guides out there. So there's a lot of resources that we're definitely going to leave in our comment section. So of course, if you are a listener and this is your first time, make sure you like and subscribe and follow us. But we always want to make sure we leave you with some great resources. We recently did a blog in Toe Times, and it's called HONK for Health. And we really want to make sure that, it's all about making sure that you understand the different types of preventing cold stress. We're in the winter right now and you're operating out there. So we want to make sure you understand the dangers of frostbite and understand the dangers of working in extreme weather. So make sure you check that out. It's in Toe Times and it's called HONK for Health.
Yeah, actually, let's actually, Dr. Schwerdt, cold stress. That's something, trench foot is one of the topics in that article. Maybe you can give us a little background on that too.
Trench foot is really call a lay term. What it really is the basically
we are talking to laymen here, so
yeah, I'm just break
it down for us.
What I'm trying to say is that it's more than one medical problem meshed into one, and what they have in common is the being submerged in water for a prolonged period of time. So what that tends to do is that tends to macerate the skin. We've all been in the bathtub too long and our fingers and toes prune, and it takes a while for that to resolve. In a prolonged period like that, you can actually tease the skin. It actually weakens the skin, and you can develop what we call a super infection. So even if there's no wound or no true visible break in the skin can be weakened enough that bacteria and even foreign objects, depending on what it's submerged in, can get in there. So it's really a combination of a weakening of the skin with either a superimposed bacterial infection or a superimposed for what we call a foreign body getting in there. Or sometimes what can happen is you can get an aggressive form of athlete's foot, or what we call tinea pedis. Most of the time our body can stand being submerged like that. It's really about getting dried off in time. And I tell this to my diabetics and patients who have poor circulation, who are at risk for that to begin with. And they can have this happen not necessarily from a job hazard, but from something ordinary like showering and bathing or being submerged too long. You do have to, I would say, let's say you're a truck driver on a 12-hour shift, I tell them very often to have at least during some type of break in your shift, try not to have your feet in the same exact environment all 12 hours at a time. There's a way that you could take even a 20 or 30-minute break to dry things off if you're the kind of guy that sweats too much. If you are working in an area that has a lot of moisture and a lot of humidity, where it can environmentally induce that in your foot. Using things like even something basic like putting powder in there, anything that comes in powder form, I don't care what medication is in it, it'll dry the immediate area out. So things like that come in powder form and solution form, like even Lysol spray in amounts like that work. Those types of what we call vehicles, or the type of formulation it comes in, actually has a bigger impact on drying your foot than the actual brand or medication that you pick. So I would say avoid creams, ointments, and heavy things like that, and use powders and solution-based things instead.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious how important your feet and legs are to this job. I mean, I knew one heavy wrecker operator who had one leg and was great at it, but he's definitely the exception, not the rule. You definitely don't want to end up losing parts of your body because you didn't take care of it. We need to keep these folks healthy and safe. This is important. This is just as important. Your health is just as important as, slow down, move over initiatives and all that other stuff that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just, as a question for all of you here as our experts, what is one suggestion that you would tell a tow truck driver to help his or her health? And we'll go ahead and start with you, Dr. John, since you were last to speak.
So when I get my truck drivers in, I kind of basically give them two general recommendations, and then I go into detail based on what they have going on. And the first is the concept of what I call diminishing returns. I think a lot of drivers, particularly people who work as hard as they do and, do the heavy lifting that they do, the notion of presenting them that they have to exercise 5 days a week on top of that is not something that's attractive when I bring it up. And so I present it to them in the form of I give them what I call the diminishing return speech. There's a big difference between exercising for your health and training to put a selfie on Instagram and have everybody like it. The 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise a day, moderate. It's been shown that a moderate amount of exercise, 30 minutes a day, is the best bang for your buck. And I don't push them to work, if you go more intense than that or for longer than that, the bang for your buck kind of goes away. And in some more extreme cases, it can even induce risk. So I start there. And the second thing that I do is I tell them to pick I kind of pick the exercises for them. So there are certain types of cardiovascular exercise like walking or running that really pound your joints. And, I'm the heavier set guy myself. I don't do those. When I do my cardiovascular exercise, I'm doing things that don't load on my joints. So I specifically point out the elliptical, the exercise bike, and swimming. Any aquatic exercises give you equivalent cardiovascular benefit without pounding on your joints. And then sometimes they can, particularly if you do have the time and resources to do aquatic exercises, can be really therapeutic after you've been pounding your joints, on the road for 12 hours at a time.
Ooh, yeah, great information. Thank you so much for that. What about you, Ashley?
I just think for general care, not just for them, but for any of us, I think the key is just balance. We can't overrun ourselves, especially as Dr. John just said too. We can't expect someone to do something that their body's not meant to do. So I think just really assessing who you are, what you're capable of. All of us have past histories. We played sports, we had accidents, we have injuries. Really just gearing yourself to you, but balancing your diet and your exercise, and not just that, but your home life and your happiness has to be part of your balance. It can't just be pound the pavement, pound the elliptical, pound the salad, and back on it the next day. There's got to be some kind of balance in there for your own life, your own happiness, your family, your well-being, your spirituality, whatever that looks like. But again, we don't need to do 5 days a week of pounding exercise if that's not meant for us. Some days maybe we go to Zumba class. Some days we take the kids to the park and we just keep walking around the block. Some days we're going to go with a girlfriend and we're going to go for a hike. And you can really spread that out and what that looks like for you. But exercise balance, diet balance, life and happiness balance, I think is key for all of us.
Great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, why don't you go ahead and take us home?
Well, I touched a lot on the insurance stuff, but in terms of me personally, for my health, one of the things that I found, and we talked about a little bit, was the cold showers, this Wim Hof method. I've been doing deep breathing and cold showers, and the vasoconstriction of that, it's just lowered my blood pressure, and it's helped me have a much clearer focus. So it's been very positive for me. So that's what I do in lieu of heavy exercise.
And one thing I'll say here too as well, just want to jump into, is keep in mind that this is a business. We are in business, and our body is one of the tools we use every day. You wash your truck, you take care of your truck, you change the oil in your truck, you make sure your tools are all up to date. You make sure the back end of your truck is greased properly. This is the same maintenance you need to do to your body, because that's a tool you use every day to make money. And if it's not there, and if it starts to fail on you, it's just like having a truck that doesn't start when it's cold. It's like having a toolbox that the door locks on you all the time and you can never get it open. So things that hinder you from doing your job quickly and easily, which prevents you from making money, which at the end of the day is what everybody's here to do in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to find your happy place. A lot of you guys, a lot of you operators are in this business because this is your happy place. You want to serve people. You want to take care of people. And then if this is your happy place, then we got to make sure you're good in your happy place. So thank you so much to our guests for coming on today. I'm so grateful for the information you all shared. I know I walked away with a lot. I'm going to go find my happy place, which is probably dancing somewhere in this living room. And And yeah, I thank you guys for coming on. Make sure if you're a listener, you check out the description of our podcast here, where you can find us on any major platform, and on our socials. We'll make sure to leave some resources. Any last information? Why don't you guys tell us where we can find you? If our listeners are in your area and they want to reach out to you, where can they find you? Where can they contact you?
I'll go ahead and start. Again, I'm Ashley. I'm a family nurse practitioner in Las Vegas. I work out of Priority Health Group. We're in the Summerlin end of town if you're in the city. Our address, 2481 Professional Court. But more importantly, just a phone number if you want to get a hold of us or you want to come see me down at the clinic. And also, just so you know, we are doing the telephone conferences just to be COVID friendly and safe. So again, if you just need to get in touch with a family practice provider, you haven't seen a doctor in a while, I'm more than willing to see you and help you and make a new plan for life. Our phone number at the office, you can reach us, is area code 702-382-1599. And thanks so much, Yvonne and Dennis. A blessing to be here, and I was honored to be asked to speak.
Thank you. And we have a great network in Vegas, so hopefully some of our providers will reach out to you. Jeff, how can we reach you?
I have a website, jeffreymast.com, but I mean, I guess in your blog, you can put my contact info up. For the individuals and whatnot, I know you're nationwide. I principally, when it comes to individuals, I help people that are in California because I live in Los Angeles. But, I'm happy to give advice to people regardless if they were stuck and really wanted to make that leap towards getting something in place. So, I'm happy to be a resource.
Yeah, we also have a great network in California. We are based in Los Angeles. We have a great network up north in Sacramento, San Diego. We have a great network as well. We're also members of the California Tow Truck Association. So if Jeff can be assistance to you or your company, we'll link his information as well, and you can reach out to him. Doc, you're up next.
If you do happen to be local in the Hudson Valley, I practice at Cappa Podiatry in New Windsor, New York, which is just south of Newburgh. You can go to cappapodiatry.com. The office number is 845-562-7285. For public resources, there are actually several places you can go. I am an officer in the New York State Podiatric Medical Association. So if you go to NYS as in New York State, P as in Peter, MA.org, or you could go to ACFAS, ACFAS.org. That's a national organization. Both of those websites, which I'm affiliated with, have their own websites for patient resources. So you can find a board certified practitioner in your area, as well as get some basic information to take home.
We have a great growing network in the New York area too, as we continue to grow as a company. So hopefully we can have some folks reach out to you and you can help them out as well.
We really appreciate all the information. We'll make sure to incorporate all of your information for our listeners. And thank you so much. And that is Honk for Health.
Thanks, everybody.
So thank you again to our guests for coming on this episode. Such a great conversation with such good people. And yeah, Dennis, I'm excited to incorporate some of the stuff. I think it's good, not just for, our operators, but anybody listening, to take some of this information and really be able to prioritize your health. Drink some water, eat some vegetables. And look for the resources we're going to leave for you guys, because there's some great resources there to help you, and then free resources. When COVID hit, a lot of resources became free, exercises, meditation resources, nutritional resources. There's so many different things out there that are available for you.
Yeah, I really love these roundtable experts conversations, and I'm hoping we can do some more of these in the future on similar or other topics. But small steps can really make a difference in your overall health. And like I said a little bit earlier, your body is a tool in your toolbox. Your truck is a tool in your toolbox, and you need to take care of your equipment. You need to take care of the things that work for you every day. And at the end of the day, we are in business to make money, and the better condition we are in, the better condition our equipment is in, the more money we can make, because the more we can rely on that equipment. So to just put it in perspective, if you're a small business owner and you have several employees, invest in their health. Invest in the health of yourself and your family and your employees and your drivers and your dispatchers and your mechanics. And we're dealing with an industry-wide shortage of available qualified people. So let's get the most out of the equipment, meaning the people that are out there, by prolonging their health and making sure that they're healthy, making sure they're not missing work days because of injuries or illnesses that could have been prevented. Same thing when we talk about safety discussion surrounding safety on the roadside. There are things that are in your control that you can do to prolong your health and ensure that you are up to tip top shape. Make sure your oil is changed. Make sure your tires are inflated. Same concept with your body. Do a pre-trip of your body when you get up in the morning and feel around and make sure you're okay. Make sure that you are good and do what needs to be done to prevent yourself from getting sick, to prevent yourself from getting these diseases that we're all so susceptible to, hypertension, diabetes, all these heart conditions that our industry is prone to, truck drivers in general are prone to. You can do so much to prevent some of this stuff.
Absolutely. And the most important thing out on that road to you is you. And I know it's you getting back to your family, and that goes a long way by just protecting you and protecting your health. You can be your biggest and best asset just simply by taking these small steps. So, all right, guys, go ahead and
get hooked.
Get hooked on health. Get hooked.